Hello again, beautiful beings of light, and welcome to this very special live video that's actually happening on a Tuesday and not a Monday. And wow, just wow, Panama, tribal gathering, being in the jungle. Let's just say someone died, someone got punched in the face, my phone got stolen, my laptop crashed on me. I sat with an African shaman and learned his awakening story. I did Qigong on the beach with a Filipino shaman. I had an energetic birthing on the full moon by the ocean. What didn't happen in Panama? And at the end of the day, the entire Panama 3 weeks, 18 days, whatever you want to call it, experience, it was beautiful and incredible. And I wanted to paint my face for this live video because Panama and what happened in Panama represented both the light and the dark. There is no better, no worse. And I think throughout my whole journey, I relived and completed around 50 past lifetimes. And I'm going to just skim the surface in this video about what past lifetimes I went into and what it taught me and really what happened. But 1 hour is not going to cut everything that happened in Panama. So hello, everyone from YouTube. Thank you so much. I see you all tuning in. And then hello, everyone on Facebook. It's been a long time. I'm so freaking excited to be back. I'm wearing this really beautiful shirt. I forget what the artist is called, but basically this shirt I picked up at the festival, of course. And it represents someone's DMT experience. And I feel like my whole experience in Panama represented one giant DMT trip. So I'm basically about to go into all of the experiences that I had, everything that happened. So today's live video, yes, it's going to be teaching, but it's going to be more teaching through experience. So just be aware that it's going to be a little bit different today. And so just a little disclaimer, and also these are my experiences. You can take them or leave them, but guaranteed what I'm going to be talking about today is going to deeply resonate with each and every one of you, because I'm sure, I can almost guarantee that each part of this story is a mere reflection of something that has happened to you in your own life. So I really ask today, because it won't be as interactive, I really want you to give me feedback on maybe a thumbs up or a little heart if you're resonating with the stories and the content and what I experienced, or be vulnerable and share your story with me. Comment below and let me know if you've ever experienced what I'm about to share with you, with the light and the dark and all of that great stuff. So please, be interactive. Let me know. I love reading all of your comments afterwards. So, keep me up to date on where you're at with all of my experiences as well. So, and so I also always want to ask, where are you tuning in from the world? I always love seeing everyone from Australia and Germany and Hong Kong and, of course, good old Canada and the US, so where are you right now? Where are you tuning in from? I am finally back in good old California. It feels so good to be home. Yes, and so good to be back on live. I swear my mind has been going all day on everything that I want to tell all of you. And it's so amazing and so mind-blowing, everything that happened. So we've got Ontario, New Mexico, California, Puerto Rico. Hello from Brazil. Awesome. I love South America. So shout out to everyone in South America right now. Buffalo, Manitoba. Hello. New Mexico. Who else we have? Washington, Canada. Okay, freaking cold in Canada. Nice. Ohio. Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Today is just such an explosive live video. I have so much to get through. First thing I want to mention is, what is tribal gathering? Where did I even go? I didn't just go to a hotel. I went into the jungles, deep into the jungles of Panama to have this explosive, amazing, incredible time, this incredible experience that I had. So tribal gathering, for those of you who don't know, it's pretty underground. You could consider it a festival, but I would more consider it a gathering? I don't know. Basically, it's 60 different indigenous tribes from 30 different countries all over the world. So we had tribes from Africa, all over South America. We had tribes from even Canada came with the North Americans. We had tribes from Australia. Where else? Where else were some cool tribes from? The Mayan tribes from Mexico, right? So these tribes from all over the world, they come to Panama once a year for this gathering called Tribal Gathering. And there's about 1,500 people who come for this. And basically the tribes not only share their knowledge and their wisdom and their basket weaving, their art, their dance, their drumming, their music, but they also share their plant medicine, right? So there's ceremonies that go on. And for those of you who don't know what plant medicine is, things like ayahuasca and kambo and iboga, and these plant medicines basically stimulate DMT or dimethyltryptamine in your pineal gland. And what that means is it allows you to connect to pure source, and it allows you to connect to pure consciousness. So it's kind of like a hallucinogenic trip in a way, but I would never consider plant medicine to be, a drug in a sense, right? It's very sacred. And especially doing it with these shamans, very sacred. Now, I will let all of you know that personally, I did not have a calling to do any sort of plant medicine. I haven't done plant medicine in a very long time. And really, at the end of the day, it's because I truly believe and also truly teach that we don't need plant medicine to get to where we all want to go, right? Which is within the awakening, understanding our past lifetimes, understanding our blueprints and our birth path, right? We don't need plant medicine to get there. We all naturally have a pineal gland. We all naturally produce a chemical compound, DMT or dimethyltryptamine. It's DMT that allows us to see the colors and the beauty and the energy and the vibration, around us in the environment. And I truly believe that you don't need anything else except for going within to get you there. And to be honest, I just want to say that that's probably the first thing that I noticed at Tribal Gathering in talking to these really beautiful souls, is that a lot of people were externalizing their own power within plant medicine. And so you get there and I'm looking around and I'm thinking to myself, this is it. This is my tribe. This is my vibe. You've got hippies with beautiful sacred geometry tattoos all over their body. They've got these giant dreadlocks. They're mostly naked, actually, a lot of naked hippies. And they're just one with nature. They're vibing it out. They're drumming on the beach. And I'm looking around, I'm like, yes, this is my jam. However, when I started talking to these really beautiful people and these really beautiful souls, I started realizing that I felt like I was an outcast. And the reason why I felt like I was an outcast, and some of you may laugh at this, is because, how do I say this? Just because you're a hippie doesn't necessarily mean you're spiritual. Now, in my own little bubble of reality, I think I linked synonymously being a hippie to being spiritual. And to be honest, that's not the case at all, right? And a lot of these people who were at the festival were like, oh yeah, you talk to them and they're like, oh, I've been traveling for 2.5 years and I was in Guatemala last week and then I'm going to Costa Rica and then I'm off to Europe, and that's amazing. That's really cool to do. And, I really kind of, I can appreciate someone doing that. But then they talk about, oh yeah, I did toad ceremony last month and that was all right. And then I'm doing St. Pedro, this week. And then next week I'm going to go and do, another one, whatever it's called. And so, I'm thinking to myself, and I kind of picked the brain of a couple of these people and I said, oh, that's so beautiful that you're really engaging in plant medicine. And I said, well, what have you been doing? What work have you been doing? And they're like, well, what do you mean? Plant medicine is the work. And I said, well, what have you been doing on your own without plant medicine in between the ceremony? And I ended up receiving a lot of blank stares. And so right away, I started to kind of feel the vibe and understand that a lot of these people, unfortunately, have been giving their power away to plant medicine and externalizing themselves and their own awakening process into ceremony, right? Into plant medicine. And so I've seen this. I see this for a living. I see people externalizing their power in relationships. I see them externalizing their power in shopping, in alcohol, in drugs, in, social media distraction. But I never really thought that something so sacred like ayahuasca could actually disempower someone. And here, this is exactly what I found. I didn't find it with one person. I found it with many people. Okay. And this is actually, this little realization that I had at the beginning is a prerequisite to this beautiful soul who actually ended up passing away at tribal gathering. And we're going to get to that. But huge lesson that I learned right off the bat. And I went to Panama and I went to tribal gathering with the intention, I think I might have mentioned it to all of you, that I wanted to be a student. I did not want to be a teacher, which means that I wanted to listen. I did not want to talk, right? And as you all know, for me, it's kind of difficult for me not to teach. And for those of you who know me in my personal life, it's really difficult for me not to teach, right? This is what I'm here to do. This is what I love doing. This is my passion. It's so difficult for me to not help people solve problems and figure their life out. So, I zipped it. And to be honest, I did a pretty good job. I'm going to brush my shoulder off a little bit and say that I only brought 3 business cards with me, right? Because usually I bring a stack and I say, hey, this is what you do. This is what I do. If you want to awaken, I can help you, blah, blah, blah. Here's a card, right? And I said, no, I can't bring any cards. So I brought 3. I only ever handed out 1 business card. Okay. So I'm very happy with myself. Anyway, so I was just listening. I was doing a lot of listening, and that's really beautiful. And I just want to mention one thing here, which is, when you travel a lot, right? When you don't really have a home base, it's a beautiful journey to go on a pilgrimage and travel and understand yourself through traveling. But at the same time, traveling without a home base or essentially without any money, right? And not knowing where you're going to end up next week, as a Cancer, that's actually quite, it's quite worrisome. I'm oh no, I need a home base. But anyway, it's a beautiful experience. What I found is that a lot of these people were in very survivalistic mentalities of they were unable to fully expand their consciousness, okay, and think about bigger picture type of things because they were too focused and essentially too distracted on focusing on where's my next meal going to come from, where can I get a job under the table, and where am I traveling to next? Once again, it's a beautiful time to do a pilgrimage, but it also incurs and triggers a lot of the fight or flight mechanisms. So this is just objectively observing my surroundings. And that's really what I found. Okay, so before I go any further, I want to talk a couple of announcements, and then I want to go into just the month of February a little bit. There's a lot going on. Okay. So a couple of announcements. I'm back to doing group sessions, which means that once again, I'm no longer doing any more one-on-one sessions. I'm just purely doing group sessions now moving forward. So every Sunday, I have about 10 people for 90 minutes that get together, and I'll channel 2 questions of yours. So I've got spots open. If you have a couple questions and you're looking for me to channel, especially about cosmic stuff and your interdimensional soul family, I'm right there with you. Check it out. Couple of spots available for this Sunday. Okay, group session. Check it out. Okay. Also, super exciting. My very own podcast is being released April 1st, and it's called the Expand Podcast with Elizabeth April. I'm going to be talking about the matrix, quantum physics, simulation theory, aliens, awakening, spirituality, you name it. I'm going to be talking about it in 30-minute long intervals once a week. And I think it's every Tuesday it's going to be released. Okay. So check that out. It's going to be super awesome. And then also the last thing here, 2 more things, is my courses. I recently got connected with this man who is a quantum physicist. I think he has a couple of PhDs. His name is Nassim. He's really well known out there in the quantum physics community. And his mission in life is to merge spirituality and science. Of course, my mission mirrors that of his mission. And so I am connecting with Nassim, and I am developing right now. He brought me on as a faculty member. He's releasing an online school, and I'm going to be a faculty member, and I have 2 courses that I actually designed and laid out in Panama. So the first course is called Mastering the Matrix. It's all about spirituality and quantum physics. So simulation theory, simultaneous time, wave-particle duality, entanglement, Schrodinger's cat, our consciousness creating our reality. If you want to break through the matrix and master the matrix, then you want to check out this course. That's not going to be released until August. Okay, so keep that in mind. The second course I'm developing with Nassim is going to be, well, I'm developing it, but he's basically going to be the one releasing all of this. And the second one is going to be the glitches in the matrix. It's going to be talking about hopping dimensions, once again, breaking through the matrix, but also the Mandela effect and those kind of cool things. So definitely check those out. Keep those in mind for August. The course that I've been working on for quite some time and will be releasing April 1st, okay, fingers crossed, April 1st, is going to be the transition from the 3rd dimension to the 5th dimension, all about healing your programming, deprogramming, reprogramming, ego death, completing inner child work, letting go of old traumas, and moving on. If you want to transform your life from the 3rd dimension to the 5th dimension, this is the course for you. It's $3,000. It's 4 months long, and it is super intensive, and I can almost guarantee results. So just keep that in mind. There's obviously payment plans and things like that for it as well. But I developed it and I fully completed it in Panama. Now I'm just kind of getting all the technology behind it. So please keep that in mind. It's going to be absolutely epic. Okay. So now I want to talk about February. I mean, everyone I've talked to so far in February has had absolutely crazy experiences. So I want to ask all of you, what was your February like? And months ago, I kept mentioning, February kept coming up as this is the month of downloads. This is the month of DNA shifts and DNA activations. And if you're looking at me and saying, Elizabeth, you're freaking crazy, February was awful, and all I had was challenges, well, guess what? You can go ahead and pat yourself on the back, because experiencing challenges and being triggered and having the fear and the ego and all of that shit come up, guess what? That indicates a DNA activation. DNA activation is not this beautiful, blissful, pretty thing, and all of a sudden we're seeing different things. And yes, sometimes it can be like that, but most likely a DNA activation means you got really sick, you got really triggered, you got really freaking emotional, and maybe you got into an accident, right? And maybe you injured yourself. What I found about February was it was all about, once again, major karmic completion. All I did was meet the right people at the right time to complete the right karma. And if you haven't been really out of your routine, like I was, right, for 3 weeks, that's okay, because the challenge and the trigger and the emotion that came up for you in February was also simultaneously all about completing all of the karma and past lifetimes. Like I said, in 1 month, no, in like 2.5 weeks, I went through almost 50 plus past lifetimes that I needed to complete through extremely traumatic events. And you know how I said that person got punched in the face? Well, that person was actually me. I was the one who got punched in the face. And we're going to get to that. That's all a part of the story. But anyway, so how was your February? So someone says here, lots of nosebleeds. Okay. Yes, absolutely. yeah, big downloads. Downloads are just realizations, you know? What else? Okay, it feels like a crossroads, opening new doors. Good, good, good. Awesome, guys. Oh man. Okay, so what else did I want to say? Okay, so the first past lifetime that I released in Panama was actually on the Uber ride to Tribal Gathering. So this poor, beautiful soul got stuck in an Uber with me. Okay, so the thing about Uber that maybe you don't know is that when someone takes an Uber ride, they have no idea. So they accept you as a client. They have no idea where the trip is going to take them. So anyway, I'm at the airport. I'm like, I don't want to wait for the shuttle. I want to get to Tribal Gathering like yesterday. I call an Uber. Tribal Gathering is in the middle of the jungle in Panama, so there's no real address. The Uber driver thinks he's taking me like 2 hours away. And he's like, oh, like I'm a personal trainer and I've got a bunch of clients today, but it should be fine and whatever. Turns out the ride was like 5 hours long. We ended up getting lost in the middle of the jungle. The Uber app isn't working. The GPS isn't working. We're on this dirt road. No one speaks English. He doesn't speak English. I don't speak Spanish, unfortunately. And it was just a crazy cluster. And basically what ended up happening was him and I, in a past lifetime, or possibly multiple past lives, have been kind of journeying and adventuring, and we've been on multiple different kind of, lifetimes where we've been explorers together, and we've gotten lost together and things like that. So even though he didn't know English and I didn't know Spanish, 6 hours go by, we finally find it, and there's this beautiful hug at the end, and I thank him, for everything he just kind of went through to get me there. And I paid him like $200 cash because the Uber app wasn't working. And then turns out the next day Uber charged me $250. So bad mistake. I was way too impatient, and the whole Uber ride cost me like almost $500 US. So that was a little bit of a blow right at first. That's okay. First big challenge of Panama. That's fine. I got there safely. I did not, get driven into the jungle with like a crazy guy, right? Like, it all worked out. It was really beautiful. But the crazy thing is that for like 4.5 hours, I was biting my tongue. I'm like, nope, this is going to work out. It's going to be fine. Like the universe is going to get me there. It's going to be all right. Right. I'm convincing myself of that. And then 4.5 hours into it, I like just broke down. I'm like, holy shit, where is this place? I'm totally lost. I don't know where to go. No one speaks any English. Right. So I'm breaking down. I text my girlfriend. I'm like, holy shit, I'm so lost in the jungle. It's been 5 hours. I don't know where we're going. Can you please get me a phone number? And then the second I text her, right, in all caps, of course, because I'm freaking out. The second I text her, we find Tribal Gathering. We drive into the jungle down this crazy dirt road. And then I lose service. And I lose service for like 24 hours until I could find service again. And the last text I send my girlfriend is, I'm lost in the jungle with this Uber driver, and it's been 5 hours and we have no idea where we're going. And so the next lifetimes that I was completing and bringing closure to were lifetimes where my girlfriend and I had been separated in past lifetimes, and there was no way of like communicating. And one of the lifetimes was I was a male and I was in the military, and we were sending letters back and forth, but something happened. Like I think the trade route or the letter route got interpreted. What is it? There's a word there, not interpreted, but it got, anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. It's right on the tip of the right tongue. Okay, I'm gonna let it go. But anyway, yeah, so it got basically someone stopped the letters going back and intercepted. Thank you so much, Michelle. Okay. Yes, it got intercepted, and then the letters couldn't get to her. And she thought I was dead for like 1.5 years, right? So we had to bring closure to that lifetime when that happened, right at the beginning of Tribal Gathering, right? And how freaky is it to have your partner in another country saying that they're lost, and they've been lost for 5 hours trying to find this thing in the jungle, right? It was kind of freaky. Anyway, I got there. I ended up messaging her like a full day later. It was fine. She was freaking out, but, kind of worked out. Anyway, that's like the kind of the beginning of it. And then, so this beautiful man, ended up passing away during a plant medicine ceremony. Now, I want to let you all know that, like, I really want to say that I don't believe that you need plant medicine or ayahuasca or DMT or mushrooms or anything to get to where you need to go with expanding your third eye and reaching the cosmos, right? And connecting to your higher purpose. I really don't believe you need any sort of external stimulant at all. Okay. I don't want to say don't do any plant medicine for your entire life. I don't want to say that. If it calls you, absolutely listen to your intuition. That is for you. But it is something to be highly respected and something that you shouldn't be doing every week. Like, if you're going to do it, have it be this beautiful thing that's a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? So I just want to just kind of put that's just my thoughts on it. Anyway, so, and I just want to put that disclaimer on it because I don't want to deter anyone from not doing it ever in their life, especially if it is calling you, right? So it is completely up to you. Your journey is your own with plant medicine. And if you have a really amazing experience with plant medicine, please comment below. Let everyone know your amazing experience with plant medicine. So I just don't want to deter anyone from this, but this beautiful man ended up passing away from a plant medicine ceremony. And the plant medicine is, I think it was snake venom, and it's called iboga. I might be messing that up, but just, anyway. And so, of course, any plant medicine is a poison to your body. Even magic mushrooms, it's all very natural, but it's also all a poison. And that's kind of what, sparks that dimethyltryptamine to be released. So anyway, and so this man passes away, and his name's David. He was 32, and I believe he was from either Germany or Australia. And I'll tell you that after that man passed away during the plant medicine, the energy of tribal gathering, the energy within that place in Panama shifted, right? It shifted. And to be honest, it shifted for the better. And the reason why it shifted for the better is because finally you started seeing people taking plant medicine much more seriously rather than disrespecting it in a way and kind of using it to get fucked up. And I don't want to say that everyone was doing that, but there was definitely this underlying energy of, yeah, I did this last week, I'm doing this week, and it really felt disrespectful. Anyway, and so a couple of other people, including shamans that I spoke to while I was there, also told me, and I do really, I agree with this, and I just want to let you know that it is a very indigenous belief to understand plant medicine, or what should I say? There is typically a sacrifice that is made before there is an awakening. Okay, so in order to have rebirth, there needs to be some sort of death. Okay, now typically, and this is most all indigenous tribes, including North American indigenous tribes, believe that there needs to be sacrifice before ceremony. Okay, now typically the sacrifice is, maybe it's an insect, maybe it's a bird, maybe it's a snake sacrifice, right? It's not typically a human sacrifice. And when I was checking into David's energy, this beautiful man, when I was checking into his energy, of course, there's part of him, the lower self, that was very confused, and he was chasing around all of the security guards. He's like, I want my money back, And then there was this higher self of his, and I spoke to his higher self, and his higher self told me that he wrote his contracts and his blueprints to go in the most beautiful, peaceful way, and have this transformation at tribal gathering. He wrote his contracts to be the sacrifice for everyone to experience the awakening there at that time, with or without plant medicine. So I just want to say that that's kind of what I received from his higher self. I managed to actually cross David over. I actually saw him when he crossed over as an angel. And now I really see that he is the angel of Panama, or the angel of tribal gathering. And he's going to be there every single year. And he's actually going to help energetically facilitate, the other plant medicine ceremonies that are going to be there in the later years, which is so beautiful and incredible. And if you really do think about everyone else who's passing away, like, especially in Panama, there's a lot of drug cartel, there's a lot of deaths, there's a lot of homicides, there's a lot of killing that happens in downtown Panama City all the time. And to have David choose to pass away in the most beautiful way possible, in a sense, for all of us, and to complete his contracts and his karma, it was just really incredible. So I managed to actually cross David over and kind of take him back to source, where he can deal with his own contracts and his blueprint. But yeah, it was really incredible and beautiful. Now, the night before David passed, I was sick. I was like really sick. Now, I'm a vegetarian, and while I was there, I was complete vegan, no dairy, and no fish, no anything like that, no meat or whatever. And so anyway, so I was eating really clean, but I got really sick. And the night before he passed at like 6 a.m. in the morning. I was like, sorry, TMI, but out of both ends for hours that night beforehand. Now, I'll let you all know that I'm very energetically sensitive, as I think we all are. And when I was a kid, I wasn't able to go to many public restaurants, because I would sit down, there would be food in front of me, and all of a sudden my face would go white, and I would actually run to the bathroom and I would throw up. And for a lot of the times, my parents thought that maybe I had some sort of weird, stomach thing or an eating thing, and now I realize in my adult life that I was actually feeling everyone in the restaurant's energy, and I was throwing up and I was purging for them. So some people are just natural purgers for others. Like typically that's more the empaths, right? It's like, if you're sick, I'm going to get sick because I'm feeling you. Anyway, so that happened. And so that happened a lot when I was a kid. I've kind of like kept it under wraps right now. I've got a pretty good boundary and separation. But at tribal gathering, I believe that I was either purging for everyone that was there that night, or I was purging specifically for David to clear his energy, to allow him to do the work that he came there to do. So another part of the story is that, which is really beautiful and incredible. And I'm really grateful to him and his family. And I just want to mention that because of what happened to me at tribal gathering, I requested a full refund. And it was actually my girlfriend's idea to take part of that refund, if not the whole thing, and give it to David's family, just to kind of help them out in his passing. So I'm going to do that. So if and when I do get a full refund from tribal, I'm going to be giving that money, at least a part of it, at least 50% of it, back to David and his family, just as a way of saying thank you for what happened. So anyway, so I know it's really tough, but I think the right people were there to support, Okay, so this kind of takes me to the next day, right? So it's very solemn, very somber energy. After that happened, the whole thing switched. Everyone was really heartfelt, connecting to everyone else. It was actually quite beautiful after that happened. So then it was the full moon, and oh man, the full moon in Panama, it brings tears to my eyes. There's the beach, the ocean, you've got shamanic fireplaces going everywhere. The tribes are all around. Everyone's drumming. It was just incredible. And so the night of the full moon, I was feeling better that day. I was eating banana and pita bread. And that day, my friend who I brought along, Ariane, beautiful soul, she does the channels paintings. Like, she's just so incredible, the light codes. Anyway, and so she connected, and I would say reconnected, with this beautiful African shaman called a Price. And he was so incredible. And so we're sitting there, the three of us, right? It's a Price, Ariane, and myself. And we're sitting there under the full moonlight. And he says, I feel so drawn to you ladies. He says, out of anyone who's here at tribal gathering, he says, especially to Ariane, I'm drawn to you and your vibration, which is so incredible. Because once again, I'm just sitting back. I'm the student. I'm just listening. And so he says, I'm drawn to share my awakening story with you. Now, he told us his whole he's this beautiful African shaman, and he told us his whole awakening story. And he told us in probably like 2 hours. So I'm not going to take the whole time to tell the story, but what I do want to say is that there was this man who was stalking him, right? This shaman who was stalking him maybe about 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I don't know. And this man was stalking him, and the man says, oh, remember me, you taught me a couple years ago, and here I am. And a Price is like, okay, sure, and he was kind of feeling a little bit weird. And the man was he followed him to work, he followed him home. A Price moved, he did all these things to kind of get away from this guy, and the guy still followed him. Eventually, I think it was maybe a year into the stalking, or maybe 6 months in, the man goes up to a Price and says, you're ready. And a Price is like, what, like, ready for what? And the man says, I was sent here from the Galactic Federation to show you who you really are, to help you remember your contracts, and to unlock your DNA. Oh my God, are you serious? Like, just mind-blowing, right? So a Price is like, Galactic Federation, what? At this point in time, he did not remember who he was. And so he's like, okay, man, okay, right? And so this man, he wasn't necessarily stalking the guy, right? He was observing him. And the reason why he was observing him was to be aware, to see if he was ready to receive what he, was contracted to receive, right? Anyway, and so this man, right? So slowly but surely, there's some trust that was kind of created between him and this man, and he's like, okay, like, I guess you're here, might as well just kind of experience this, right? Anyway, and so the man says, a Price, we're going into the desert, right? I mean, they're in Africa, right? They're in South Africa. He's like, we're going into the desert. And a Price is like, okay. And the man says, we're going in, and what did he say, for 40 days? No, 20 days? I think it was 20 days. Yeah, it was 20 days. And the man says, we're going into the desert for 20 days. And so they hop in this van, and the guy is like fully loaded. He's got supplies. It's not just, they're not fasting for 20 days, even though there's a bunch of fasting and different challenges and things like that beforehand, right? There's like all of these little things were leading up to this desert trip, right? And it was a trip. And so the man like takes a Price. He has this van full of food, water, all of the things that they need, and plant medicine. And so a Price gets in the van. The man drives out like 6 hours away or 10 hours away or something, and he hands him this jug, and he says, by the end of this road trip, you are to drink this entire thing. And the Price is like, oh, what is this, water? And the man says, no, this is ayahuasca. Right? And so here he is jumping into a van saying, okay, this is for you. And basically the entire 20-day journey in the desert of Africa was just a Price and this man, him purging, taking plant medicine, opening up to universal truth, meeting his cosmic alliance, meeting aliens, channeling information, channeling quantum physics. Like, literally, this guy, when he was talking, I'm like, man, this sounds like it's everything that he channels and understands and teaches is exactly the way that I teach it. Of course, we're all just teaching the same thing at the end of the day. And that's how you're onto the truth, right? Is when it's consistent. And that's how there's no such thing as an ego when teaching universal truths, because it's not mine. It's not mine to teach. I can't own it, right? It just comes through all of us when we're connected. So anyway, yeah, so that was really incredible. So then we had this sit down with the shaman, couple of hours, really amazing. Oh my goodness, that was, mind blowing, right? And then afterwards, Ariane and I were like, oh, I'm feeling drawn to the ocean. Let's go to the ocean and let's do a drumming dance, right? So here we are, we're at the ocean, we're drumming, we're dancing with the ocean and the waves and the full moon under the full moonlight. It was incredible. And then I'm getting these sharp pains in my lower abdomen. And I've been dealing with and struggling with lower abdominal issues and pains for quite some time. And I believe what I have is labeled as endometriosis, but it's basically just extra cells that are built up and a bit of a calcification happening in your sacral chakra and your what are like ovaries and stuff, like your female organs. Anyway, and so the pain was happening, and I told Ariane, and I said, look, like I have this pain in my lower abdomen. Like, she's like, I know exactly what you need. She's like, you need to give birth. And I'm like, what? I'm not pregnant. And she's like, no. She's like, trust me. She's like, do you trust me? I'm like, okay, I trust you. So we go into our little like lotus tent, and she's like drumming, and she starts putting all these essential oils on me, and we get into the birthing position, and Ariane's actually studying to be a doula right now. And so we get into this birthing position, and she's doing this cranial sacral work on me, and she's painting light codes, and she's doing energy work, and she's moving, and she's talking me through things, and I'm breathing like I'm having a birth under the full moon. Like, this is like full moonlight, after we talk to the African shaman and dance with the ocean. And then it happens. Like, I don't know what else to say. I've never had a child in this lifetime, but I start going into past lifetimes, past lifetime after past lifetime after past lifetime, where I was a mother and I was a female, and I actually abandoned my children. I left my children in these past lifetimes, and it just gives me this heavy heart just when I talk about it. And basically what happened was, I married a man in past lives as a woman through obligation, because I figured out, well, society tells me that this is the age that I do that thing. And then you get married and there's unprotected sex, so you just have kids. And of course, society tells you, well, if you're married, then of course the next step is to have children. So here I am doing all of the things out of obligation. And then I'm like in my mid-20s, and I tell my husband and my family, I say, this is not what I wanted. This is not what I signed up for. I am in this lifetime to do so much more than this. I'm so sorry, but I have to leave you. I have to follow my intuition, and I have to go into the city, and I have to teach. I have to be a spiritual teacher. I have to channel. I have to help people. And by being here stuck in this family, and it felt like a freaking prison, it felt like a trap. By being stuck in this family, I'm not completing my mission. And this anxiety and depression and weight was hanging over me that I wasn't completing my mission. And so I said, I have to leave you, and I have to go, and I have to follow my mission. And so, and I'm not just throat chakra. I'm not just talking about one lifetime here. I'm talking about over 30 lifetimes that I went into, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, of me as a female leaving my family, or even as a male leaving my family, saying, this isn't what I wanted. And could you imagine the pain as a mother going through weighing being a spiritual teacher versus being a mother and a family man or a family woman, and always weighing spirituality, and always weighing the awakening, and always weighing your mission more than your family, and the heartbreak that it led to me, but also the fulfillment that I felt when I did leave, and then the simultaneous heartbreak for feeling like my family wasn't good enough for me. And then there was a lifetime, and this is really bad, and I'm going to say it because you know what? We've all been through fear-based and really awful lifetimes, and if you want to judge me, judge away, but this is who I am. And in one of the very last lifetimes that I saw, is throughout that whole birthing process, was where I actually ended up killing my 3 children. And I had some sort of expansion, awakening, opening. I think of maybe a bit of psychosis as well, if you really want to label it. And I saw the truth of the universe, and I realized that society wasn't really awesome to bring your kids up into. And I regretted having children, and I didn't want to bring them through the pain of not having a mother, because in many lifetimes I left and they didn't have a mother, and it was just so much. Anyway, and so I ended up killing my children. I drowned them. I drowned 3 of them. And then after that life, I decided that I wasn't responsible enough to have children, and I chose to make myself infertile in lifetimes after lifetimes after that, whether I was a male or a female. I chose to be infertile. And in this lifetime, since I was a kid, I've always struggled. Like, what do I want to do? Like, I don't want to be obligated. I don't want to have children, or I don't want to be forced into anything, for fear of leaving them, for fear of saying yes. And I just left my fiance. Like, for me, that was the closure of being in a relationship through obligation, right? Anyway, and so here's the endometriosis in this lifetime. They say like 90% of women who have endometriosis or whatever, can't get pregnant. So here I am, I'm creating a disease, a dis-ease in my body as a defense mechanism, as a protection, so that I don't hurt anyone else in my life, so that I don't have children to hurt them, to leave them, So why allow my body to have children in the first place, right? Anyway, so this energetic birthing, helped me complete all of those lifetimes. And just to let all of you know that whether you can actually see the past lives like I can, right? Whether you can see that or not, it doesn't matter. When you feel pain in your body, in your shoulder, your back, your neck, your head, wherever, when you feel that pain, you're releasing something in that pain. You're releasing the karma. You're completing things in that moment, right? So just be aware that you don't have to see what I see in order to complete the energy of that lifetime. So anyway, so that was just incredible and amazing. And I just went through so many of that. And that was the divine feminine. And now I want to get into the divine masculine, right? The light and the dark, the binary. The next day, right? So this all happened. It was beautiful. The next day was like kind of the full moon as well, right? It was like that night and the next day. I was preparing for my girlfriend to come to Panama for the last 2 weeks that I was there. And that night, okay, I was like super excited. I had a beautiful day. I was like dancing with the music and the tribes and like doing qigong on the beach with the Filipino shaman. It was just amazing. I was so on a cloud. And that night, it was around 8 p.m. I knew that Natasha had just landed in the airport. So I wanted to go and call her. Now, within tribal gathering, right, the space, it was like all like jungle and then ocean and beach. And so there's only one little area on the beach where you can get cell service. Other than that, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no internet, there's not even cell service that you can get in the jungle, but this one little area. The area is quite a ways away from the main camp of tribal gathering. And at this point, it was 8 p.m., pitch black, right? So here I am on a cloud. I had this beautiful energetic birthing the night before. My girlfriend's coming the day after. I'm so pumped, and I start walking there. And as I walk, there's this man who's very clearly intoxicated and also very clearly a local. He was from Venezuela, and he was coming at me and he was talking to me, pointing at things, asking me for things, but all in a different language, all in Venezuelan. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this guy is not in his right mind. He's very clearly wasted. And I said, I want to keep my distance from him. So here we are on the beach in the pitch black. I'm walking to the service area of the beach, and he's following me. And he's speaking to me in another language. And I said, okay. I just figured maybe he needed some cell service or something. So he was going to go to the tip of the beach. So we're walking, I'm like keeping my distance. I'm like walking beside him and behind him and around him, and I'm just trying to keep my distance. Anyway, so I get to the tip. I instantly feel better because there's all of these people there. There's a fire that's going on the beach. There's about 10 people there. There's a bunch of other people on their cell phones. I'm like, whoo, okay, I feel good. This guy can just kind of screw off, right? So I talked to my girlfriend for probably like an hour, hour and a half. First thing I tell her is, hey, this really kind of sketchy guy who's wasted followed me here. And she starts freaking out. She's like, oh my God, are you okay? Like, I'm like, I'm fine. There's plenty of other people on the beach here with me. No big deal. Like, I'm safe, right? And so she's like, okay. So we talk, we have this great conversation. We're both so pumped. I'm like, how was your plane ride? Can't wait to see you tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. She's now at our hotel. It was all great, right? We had this amazing, like, hour and a half conversation. Right at the end of the conversation, this man walks up to me again, right? And now instantly I'm a little shocked because what was he doing for an hour and a half except sitting in the dark waiting for me? I don't know, right? Anyway, so he gets up, he starts shouting at me, right? Again, in like Venezuelan, and he starts shouting at me. And Nat can hear him on the phone, right, in the background. And she's like, is that guy? Is that the same guy? And I said, yeah, it's the same guy. And he comes up to me and he's angry at this point. And he goes like this, mwah! And he pretends to kiss me, or he like tries to kiss me, right? And it's this anger, like this angry kiss that he like, it's a projection. I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, ooh, he just tried to kiss me. And she's like, what? She's like, babe, get out of there. Like, that's not safe. I don't like his energy. Like, get away from that guy. And I said, yeah, you know what? Good idea. Like, I got to get away from this beach. Like, I'm going to like hang up, right? Like, I'm going to go, right? And of course, like walking away from the service area, it's like, it would have hung up anyway, right? Anyway, so I turn off the phone, right? Like I click it off, but I need the cell phone for the light. And for whatever reason, I didn't have my flashlight with me. So I needed the cell phone for the flashlight. It was like pitch black. It was like 10:30 at this point or whatever, 10 o'clock. And when I look up again, I realize that all of the people who were at the tip of the beach with me at the beginning were no longer there. And maybe there was like one or two people, right? And instantly I'm feeling a little worse than I did before, thinking that, this is not a good sign. And this guy still hasn't left yet. So I'm walking away. Between the tip of the service beach and the tribal gathering main area where tons of people were, was a pitch black strip of beach. And I'm walking back and this guy follows me. And he continues to point and shout and say all these things. And I said, man, like, fuck off, like, go away. Like, I don't know what you're doing here, but go away. Right. And like, at this point I was like, obviously not as nice as I was at the beginning. Anyway, so then right in between both points, like pitch black, he had this flashlight on. It was one of those like headlamps, but he had it in his hand and it was blinding. It was so bright. It was one of those LED lights. And he turns it off, right? So it's blinding, it's bright. He turns it off. And in that instant, he yanks my phone from my hand and he bolts down the beach. Like he bolts like towards the jungle. So I'm thinking to myself, this guy's scrawny. He's wasted. There's no way I'm allowing this guy to like jack my shit. Like I'm not going to I'm like, no fucking way. So anyway, I run after him. I know, stupid me. I run after him. I was also a rugby player, and I did a little bit of judo, karate, and kung fu when I was like 6 years old, but still. Anyway, so I run after him. I freaking rugby tackle him on the beach, and I get him down, right? I yank my phone away from him, and that's when he tackles me back, yanks my phone back, pushes me to the ground, right? Then he runs in the jungle. Once again, I should have known better, but I run after him again, right? Now he's in the jungle. Now this gets a little scary because the beach is like, at least it's open. There's a bit of the moonlight that's still there, right? I'm yelling help at this point. I'm like, help, help, help. Like someone, like you gotta be around. Like there's gotta be someone around, right? I mean, yelling help. Anyway, and so I'm yelling help, and like, so he runs into the jungle with my phone. I tackle him again in the jungle, like in the brush of the jungle, right? It's pitch black in there. The phone goes flying. This is when it gets scary. He covers my mouth, which is red flag number one, there's probably many red flags, but this is red flag number one for me. He covers my mouth, which means I can no longer scream for help. Like I can no longer yell. So he covers my mouth and he starts like basically he covers my mouth, he pins me down. And this is when he starts wailing on me, right? And he was angry. Like he was very clearly angry before he took my phone. And I don't think he was anticipating this little blonde girl to like tackle him back, right? So he was angry. He starts wailing on me, right? He covers my mouth. And then I like push him off with my leg or whatever. I push him off. And that's when he kicks me. And he kicks me right here, right in the solar plexus. And at that point in time, he knocked the wind out of me. And I knew that if I couldn't breathe, I couldn't defend myself or I couldn't run away. So I knew it was like bad news bears. And I'm like, I got to get out of here. So here I am, like I run, I book it down the beach, right? I'm like, I couldn't catch my breath. I'm hyperventilating. I'm so worried that the guy's going to follow me because he was following me the whole time. Anyway, and so, and I guess he just like runs into the jungle. I'm like, I've got like leaves in my hair. My face is all kind of beaten up. Luckily, no broken bones, right? Nothing like that. And so I go back to my tent, I grab security, and Ariane thankfully was there and she really helped me out with this. And she grabbed security and basically I relayed the whole thing, what happened. And I said, the guy is wasted, like go after him. Like he's still in there. He's in the jungle and he's angry. And like, I don't want him to do that to anyone else. Right. So like 5 security guards run after in that direction. Anyway, so then, okay, this is like, it gets wild, right? This gets even crazier. Anyway, and so then Ariane's like, once again, she's like, you're going to be okay. Cause I'm like in shock. Like I'm in trauma. Like I just got like abused, like physically abused. Right. Anyway. And so she's like, lay down, like, it's going to be okay. We got some essential oils. She started doing energy work on my, crown chakra area, right? So some cranial work. And as she's doing this work and she's moving the energy and she's healing the trauma, once again, I go into about 25 past lifetimes, crazy stuff, all past lifetimes where I was the female and I was abused either verbally, sexually, or physically by men in many, many, many past lifetimes. And in every single one of these past lives, I did not stand up for myself. I didn't fight. I didn't fight back physically. I didn't yell back. I didn't leave. I did not empower myself. And in one lifetime in particular, that man on the beach, okay, he was my past life husband. And he was very physically abusive in that lifetime. And I never spoke up. I never empowered myself. I never left. And I never showed my children what a real divine female strength looks like. I was passive. I let it go. And in this lifetime, boy, I'll tell you, I gave that man a run for his money, right? Like I actually fought back. And I don't recommend any of this story to anyone, right? But I do want to let you know that there's a happy ending to this, which is I was able to complete not just one lifetime with him, but I was able to complete in standing in my power, in fighting back. I was able to complete almost 25, 30 lifetimes in that one incident. And if you think about it, he could have gone after anyone and their cell phone. He could have not waited for me. He could have not followed me. There was many other people around. Someone could have stepped in, right? There's all of these different variables that could have happened, but everything happened exactly the way that it happened because it needed to complete that karma. And then I just also want to let you know that I wasn't always the victim in these past lifetimes that I was going through, right? During the traumatic part of this, some of the other, mostly I was a female, I got abused by males, but there was also some lifetimes where I was the male. I was traumatized and abused in my childhood by my parents or my father, and I became the abuser towards my female partner in later on in that lifetime. So I wasn't just the victim, I was also the abuser in these past lifetimes. And then all of a sudden, I start to realize that this poor man was clearly angry. He was clearly in a state of trauma. He was clearly in a much worse position in his life than I was in this lifetime, because I started realizing how angry and how upset and how depressed you need to be to project your anger out on other people in the manner and the way in which, with the pure spite and revenge, like it was this revenge or anger that he was giving me at that time. And I just had so much compassion in going through these lifetimes where I was the abuser, that I had to have compassion over him to understand where he came from. And then in some lifetimes as well, and this goes back to healing the divine mother in me as well, which is in some lifetimes I was the mother and my very own children were getting abused by my husband, and I did not stand up for them. I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. And I told them to keep their mouths shut as well, because it wasn't accepted in society for anyone to stand in their power or go against the patriarch in the family, right? So I wasn't just the victim in that situation. I was also to blame in many of those past lifetimes. And here I was completing all of them. Throughout that, it took me 5 minutes of her doing cranial work on me for me to completely calm down and completely complete, all of that karma and the trauma from those past lifetimes, and actually have so much gratitude over everything that had happened. And then the head security comes to our tent and he says, "We caught the guy. We need you to come identify him." So here I am, like, I'm all good. I'm fine. I completed all this karma. I'm over the trauma. And then I go and we go into this kind of like back hallway in the jungle where all the staff kind of chill and hang out. And there's like about 10 staff members, 10 security guards around him, right? And he's sitting there and he's just sitting there, he's chill. And Ariane was with me because she was kind of like supporting me throughout this. And then, I'm looking at his face. I'm like, is that him? I'm trying to identify him. Is that him? Looking at his face. And then he turns and he looks at me. And the second he looks at me, he gets all angry and aggressive. And he starts fighting everyone who's around him, right? And I'm like, that's him. That's the guy for sure. It's that anger that was within him, right? And I think there was also, I just want to say that because of the alcohol, right, and the drinking, he had a very low vibration. And I think there was some sort of energetic parasite or even entity that was attached to him that was basically coming through him to kind of lower my vibration and maybe target me, right? So there's a lot of different alternative understandings of what was going on, in that whole dynamic and situation. Once again, of course, seeing him again, like seeing my abuser, like in a way, like was very traumatic for me. Once again, I'm like, oh no, here comes all the trauma again, right? Anyway, so this head security, once I confirm his identity, he tells me, he says, that man was a security guard who was on the job, and he got wasted. He got drunk on the job, and he got fired 2 hours before I encountered him. He was fired for being drunk on the job. His security badge or whatever was taken away, and he was angry. So here he is. He's drunk. He just got fired. He's mad. He's really angry, and he's looking to not only make some money by taking a phone, but he is looking to take his anger out on someone. And I happen to be the one to cross his path, that night, which is, once again, I'm so grateful for. I'm literally so grateful this happened. And then I hear the next day, the head security comes to me and he says, "Elizabeth, I'm so sorry. In 7 years of doing tribal gathering, we've never had a situation happen like this before. Like, we apologize from the bottom of our heart. Like, are you okay?" type of thing. So they were very beautiful. They were very supportive about everything that happened. And the man tells me, he says, just between the two of us, he says, "I wasn't sure if I was taking a dead body or an alive body to the police station last night." And I said, "What? Like, what do you mean? Like, was the guy on drugs? Like, was he too drunk? Like, what happened? Like, why did he almost die? Like, it doesn't make sense to me, right?" And he says, "Well, all of the other security guards, they don't take kindly to one of them abusing a little girl, like I'm kind of tiny, but abusing someone who's at the festival, they really like stand up for others, right? So they basically beat the shit out of this guy to the point where the head security had to step in and break them apart. And, and thankfully he survived and he was okay. And he got put into jail, not for long, but he got put into jail. And my phone was never found. Like, it was just lost or given off or sold. I don't know. Anyway, and so now here's also the completion the next day of understanding that I was abused by a man, right? Like, let's just call it that or whatever. But then I had a whole group of men standing up for me and fighting this guy, right? Like, I know it's kind of like, it's not the best, but there's this beautiful kind of completion and synchronicity of, wow, now there's men who are actually standing up for me in this lifetime. And that was also, a completion in and of itself as well at that time for what happened, which was so incredible. And so, the night prior, I had this energetic birthing and I completed the divine feminine. And then the next day, I completed the divine masculine. And I had this beautiful thing with the, and also the next day, I woke up, like, my nose was kind of like I kind of had to realign my nose and it was kind of scraped up and stuff. But I asked my spirit guides, I looked in the mirror and I said, I'm not black and blue. I don't have any broken bones. Like, that guy wailed on me and I am like without a scratch basically. And I said, why? Like, why is that? And I was actually quite curious. And my guides chuckled at me and they said, Elizabeth, they said, everything that happened last night happened so that you could complete the karma, not so that you could create more karma. And they said, if you had black and blue eyes and if you were all banged up the next day, they said you would actually attach yourself to the victim mentality for the rest of tribal gathering and you would have created more karma than you completed. And I said, okay, perfect. Here we are, right? This has all happened for a reason. So anyway, so crazy. And then like a couple days go by, right? My girlfriend finally comes. She knew something was wrong. She ends up, finally coming to tribal gathering. And she's chilling on the beach with, this random hippie girl. And this girl like turns to her and she's like, man, tribal's been really wild this year. She's like, someone died and like some chick got punched in the face. She's like, what else is going to happen here? And then Natasha's like laughing. And she's like, yeah, that girl who got punched in the face, like that was my girlfriend, So apparently, news spread quickly, but I thought that was really funny. Anyway, so talk about these past lifetimes. Okay, and then, oh my goodness. Okay, and then just two more things. And then we're going to kind of do a little closing. Okay. Oh yeah, okay. So, So then, Natasha, one thing, so when my girlfriend came, it was really cool. She started opening up her clairaudient abilities. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically like being able to tap into the different sounds that are around you and like hearing things in the astral plane. And so for like 3 or 4 nights on end, when the tribes were actually leaving tribal gathering, she was hearing this chanting, and they're like chanting and drumming. And she's like, do you guys hear that? Like, do you hear this chanting? And we're like, no, I mean, there's like drumming, but it's like way in the distance. Like, she's like, it feels like they're right beside the tent. And it turns out she was tuning in, right? Clairaudiently. I'm not clairaudient myself, but she was tuning in to the ancestors of all of the tribes that were there, and they were all doing these ceremonies, right, and chanting and singing, and it was just so incredible. And then the one night, my girlfriend turns to me and she's like, Elizabeth, like, who is Hira? And I'm like, Hira? I'm like, what? Hira is my tall gray alien self. And she's like, Hira's talking to me. And she's like, I see this beautiful head of a gray alien. I'm like, oh my God, that's me. She's like, yeah, Hira's got this message for you. And Hira's this parallel version of myself, in this past life. Anyway, so it's just so cool. And now Nat talks to my grays all the time, right? And she's like, I have to let you know something. And I'm like, what? She's like, I told your grays to back off last night. I'm like, what do you mean you told my grays to back off? She's like, I think that they push you too hard and they want you to do too many things and they give you too much information. And she's like, they don't let you be be just human? So she's like, I told them to back off, and I said, let Elizabeth just be human for once, right? I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. So it was just so cute. And like, obviously, we're connecting at new levels within the relationship as well. Okay, and then one last thing, and I also have a free draw today as well. One last thing is, I mean, crazy, right? Like, Panama was crazy. And there's so much more to it, but this is like the Cole's Notes version. So then Nat and I were like, let's get out of here. Like, let's leave. Cause like at a certain point in time, like, all the food was kind of making us sick. And like, there wasn't like this kind of sanitary, that we have in the Western world. So we weren't really eating, like, talk about fasting for like 3 days, and we're like, we got to get out of here. Like, we got to get to like a hotel in Panama City. So we go to Panama City. I don't know if any of you have ever been there, but Panama City is huge. Like, these beautiful brand new skyscrapers. Just like, think about downtown Toronto times 10. Like, it was insane. And then I'm like, what's the population of Panama City? Because there's a lot of buildings here. Like, it's got to be like millions upon millions of people. Turns out the core population of Panama City is 400,000. And I said, what? This is ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. We look into it. Turns out Panama City is a complete lie, in the way that all of the drug cartels of South America come to Panama City to build these huge buildings, to funnel and launder their money through these buildings. And they're all empty. It's a ghost town in Panama City. The skyline is beautiful, but at nighttime it's dark. It's pitch black because no one lives there. And it was so wild. So we're talking to the staff at the hotel that we're staying at, right, downtown Panama City. And we're like, yeah, it's kind of weird that it's like kind of a ghost town and like all these empty buildings. Like, and they tell us, we're like, yeah. So the hotel sticks everyone in the hotel at the one side. This is so wild. They stick everyone in the hotel only on the one side of the hotel, because everyone who lives in the apartment buildings that is beside the hotel lives on that one side. He says, in that whole apartment building, 80-floor building, there's 5 people who live there, and they all live on the side that's facing the hotel to project the feeling that there are people who live there. Like, it literally felt like it was North Korea or something. You know what I mean? It was all a projection. It was all an illusion. Panama City is a complete lie. And I really thought that was like such a beautiful lesson and a conclusion to the whole Panama tribal gathering understanding of projection. I mean, of course, the whole thing wasn't a huge projection, right? It was all just a beautiful, authentic lesson. But we both found it so interesting that it was like a ghost town around there. And everyone in the hotel was like on the one floor to make it look like it was busier than it was. And it was all just like, we got bothered by staff in our hotel room like 5 times a day because they had nothing else to do. It was really weird. If you're ever just interested, look up like the cartel in Panama City. Like, it's really, really crazy. Oh man, like, just insane. And it's so nice to be back, guys. I'm so happy to be back. And one thing that I noticed, like, I maybe talked to like 2 people at Tribal Gathering about what I did or what I believed in, because I was developing these quantum physics courses, and like all I got was blank stares. And I just want to apologize for the past 3 years of giving you information. Like, I know now that all of you are like totally at the level, you know what I mean? But in talking to people about what I do and what I believe in, like, I am so in my own little world, and I had no idea that like I was just really, I've been over a lot of like, I don't know, like I don't know, it's like, it's a lot. Like, I think my understanding or my beliefs about quantum physics and like this reality is just like, I got a lot of blank stares. And I got cut off a lot. Like, this has never really happened to me. And I'm usually always really accepted everywhere I go for what I believe in. But I had people, like, no word of a lie, I had people get up and walk away from me at Tribal Gathering in Panama. Like, these full-on hippies get up and walk away from me because they just couldn't handle it. And when I get nervous, I start teaching. And anyway, and so I had this one like hippie girl. I'm like, did you know you can have an ego death without plant medicine? She's like, no. She's like, that's not possible. I'm like, trust me, I teach it for a living. It's called deprogramming your reality and reprogramming your reality. And she's like, I'm like, what do you want out of life? Like, what are you here for? Like, what's your purpose? She's like, I don't know. She's like, I don't know any of these answers. She's like, I feel like you're coaching me. And she kind of said it in a judgy way. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. She's like, I'm like, this is what I do for a living, you know? I'm like, shit, like, whoops, you know? I go into this coach mode, right? I'm like, and then by the end of Panama, because I wasn't teaching, I wasn't on lives, I wasn't channeling for anyone. Like, I was literally just going there as a student. Like, I was at the edge of my seat, just wanting to talk to anyone about what I believe in. But then when I tried to talk to anyone, I was like met with blank stares and people who just walked away from me. So I just want to say to all of you, like, huge thank you for being here, for watching my live videos, for supporting me, for awakening yourself, for expanding, for, you know, creating headaches to understand this material. And like, I do the same thing with my own material. Like, I'm just so grateful that I have the audience and the vibration that supports the depth of the level that I want to go into. So I just want to say thank you to all of you for allowing me to go there, because that's all I want to do. And moving forward with the podcast and the courses, like, I'm not holding anything back anymore. And I realize that I'm not necessarily here to talk about just alien stuff. Like, I'm here to bridge the gap between quantum physics and spirituality. Like, I'm here to bridge the gap between science and the spiritual. And I just want to say thank you. Like, in going to where I just went and kind of expecting a different level of vibration and being a little bit surprised at that, I just want to say I really appreciate all of you, like, supporting me and being there with me and like getting it. You know what I mean? And even if you don't get it, the excitement and the vibration that I give off, like, it's already a download. It's already integrating, you know, into your system. So thank you all so much. And I'm so freaking excited to give you more content moving forward. And it's going to be amazing and incredible and exciting. And once again, new courses coming, new podcast April 1st, and group sessions. If you want 2 questions answered from the universe, from your spirit guides, if you want to know who your spirit guide is, or what that weird dream is that you had, or if you've ever been abducted, or who your cosmic soul family is, or your life purpose, if you want to know any of that, you can join these group sessions every Sunday. There are still many tickets available. A couple of tickets available for this Sunday, March 10th. And then I've got every single week moving forward, I've got a group session. So please check those out. And then the last thing, other than the draw, okay, I'm going to draw 3, because I missed a couple of weeks there. You can get your name in the draw by reviewing me on either Google or Facebook. I appreciate all of your reviews. All of your names are updated and in here. About 400 names are in there, give or take. And before I do so, I want to show you a painting that I got in Tribal Gathering. And, you know, I consider myself an art collector. I'm an artist myself. I'm working on an epic piece right now, and I'm so re-inspired for more art. But I also love supporting other artists. So I love purchasing a piece of art from every place that I've visited or anything that I resonate with. And to be honest, I lost all of my original art in my breakup. You could call it divorce, but it's this breakup that I had this past year. And so I'm regaining my art pieces. And I wanted to show you this art piece because this art piece is the grandfather of Tribal Gathering. Like, no word of a lie. It's just amazing. So here it is. Check it out. How beautiful is this piece? It's literally on a piece of wood. If you want to actually check out the artist, okay, he does all of this stuff. Once again, this is the grandfather of Tribal. His name is Simon Buck, and on Instagram, he is Earth Triber. That's what he is, the Earth Triber, or Earth Triber on Instagram. Check out his stuff. This piece is gorgeous. And it really represents tribal gathering and all of the tribes there. And obviously a huge shout out to the tribes who were also at tribal gathering. I mean, thank you for coming and sharing your knowledge and wisdom. Just so beautiful. And thank you all for listening to my really special edition of this live video. And hopefully you learned something from it. And I can't wait to go back into all of your comments and to check out, you know, all of your experiences. And if you haven't yet, you know, tell me, have you had any experiences on plant medicine? What were they? How has your February been? You know, comment below. Give me like a little update of your life. I'd love to know where all of you are at so that I can align my vibration and myself to all of you to give you exactly what you need at this time of disclosure, awakening, advancement, expansion, you name it, it's here. Like, aren't you excited? I'm so excited. And I feel like every day I get more and more excited about what's happening and what's to come. So without further ado, let's pull some names. And these names are going to be for free webinars. If you don't already know, I have How to Be Psychic, Breaking Through Reality, and a manifestation webinar that's out right now. I will be recording and releasing more webinars to come, so lots of great content out there. They're just $44 Canadian, but 3 lucky people who have reviewed me get you know, a free webinar each. So let's take a look, sending some good vibes into this pot and seeing who is attuned to their manifestation. Okay, I got the first one. Number 2. Number 2. And number 3. Making up for the lost weeks here. Yes, I feel it. There we go. Okay, drum roll. Okay, first one. Cool name, Cherry Pink. Cherry Pink, congratulations. Lucky number 1. Lucky number 2. Okay, Oliver Gurton. Oliver Gurton, congratulations, Oliver. I will be messaging all 3 of you with your free webinars. And please, 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 if you know these people or you are these people, like, message me on Facebook, because it's really difficult for me to go through 400 reviews to find your name. And there's probably a lot of cherry pinks out there. So please, please, please send me a message, and that way it'll happen a lot faster. And last but not least, Marina Mika, beautiful name, Marina Mika, congratulations. Thank you to all 3 of you who reviewed me. Thank you to everyone else who reviewed me. Your names will be in there. The 3 of you, your names will be taken out. And if you want to be in the draw for next week, I draw a free webinar every single week. So review me on Google or Facebook to get your name in the draw. And if you review and recommend me, your name gets in twice. So just know that that's possible as well. Thank you all so much for staying tuned, and have yourself a beautiful rest of your week. I will be back on Monday at my typical 5:55 timing. Yeah, have an incredible rest of your night. Ciao. Bye, YouTube.